Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's Rock Time with Musical People and Journeys, and my name is Nigel Matthews. I'm your host, and welcome to my crew: Dom, Trish, Dave, and Paul. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Oh, so we are back after last month's incredible, unheard of 6 of our 12 album reviews got into our Hall of Fame. Will this month be as powerful? Will it be as strong? Oh, it's gonna be all exciting stuff, isn't it? So, right, without further ado, what is today's show's all about? Well, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's Metallica time against the mighty LA Guns. Now, this is the format of the show. We are going to all give our opinions, and then we're going to rate them for our listening pleasure. Let's get this right. We are not technical, massively musicians in the industry. We listen to this and we give our views based on our listening pleasure out of 5. And we'll find out who the winner is. Which album would we buy out of these two? Now, however, if they get more than 20 out of 25, they get into our Hall of Fame, they will go into our shortlist for Album of the Year, and we will rate them. We're coming up to nearly 200 album reviews in the last 2 years, which is just phenomenal. So, without further ado, and by way of introduction, let's start with the mighty. We have to start with the mighty Metallica. And for those who don't know, and for those out there that don't know, let's get a little bit of. This is obviously, I paraphrase from Wikipedia here, everybody. Okay, well, Metallica is an American heavy metal band. The band formed in 1981 in Los Angeles. Vocalist and guitarist James Hetfield, and drummer Lars Ulrich, thank you very much, Dom, has been based in San Francisco for most of his career. The band's fast tempos, instrumentals, and aggressive musicianship made them one of the founding big 4 bands of thrash metal, alongside Megadeth, Anthrax, and Slayer. God, these names all from the past. Metallica's current lineup comprised of founding members and primary songwriters Hetfield and Ulrich, longtime lead guitarist Kirk Hammett, and bassist Robert Trujillo. Guitarist Dave Mustaine, who formed Megadeth after being fired from Metallica, and bassist Ron McGovney, Cliff Burton, and Jason Newsted are former members of the band. Oh, the might that is Metallica. And of course, after their showing of Stranger Things, a headlining download of 2 nights, unheard of. But what do we think, though? Let's find out. And their new album, what's the new album called, everybody? 72 Seasons. Not quite sure the permutation of 72 Seasons. Maybe somebody here can enlighten me in 72 Seasons, but let's find out. So Metallica, Paul, this is from our halcyon days. Me and you never really kind of got into Metallica. I think we kind of felt they were a bit too heavy for us at our tender age of. We were more into Iron Maiden, which sounds a bit odd, really. But Metallica, remind me, Paul, why did you never really get into Metallica in those, which was in the highlight of your rock days, obviously, but.
Yeah, well, thrash in the highlight of our days, thrash metal was coming on the scene, and I really did try to listen to all the bands. I saw Metallica, I saw Anthrax, and Megadeth at Monsters of Rock, and I tried to listen to Slayer. I remember listening to a Slayer album 10 times. I just give up on it. I just could not. I couldn't connect with it. But anyway, for Metallica fans, there are many, the band started on their musical journey by championing thrash or speed metal, and were among the forerunners on the scene, along with like Anthrax and so forth. Then they did a power ballad and hit the mainstream. Before we know it, they had an orchestra accompanying them on tracks and concerts, and they started pandering to the sounds of rock radio, gaining and losing fans in the process, probably more of the former, but in the process becoming a metal band of iconic proportions. The band have slowed down in output in the last decade or two, with an album every 7 or 8 years. 7 years ago, Hardwired to Self-Destruct hinted at a return to thrash metal with a more trashy tempo and songs embracing the 1980s glories days. Roll on to 72 Seasons album, And there's some good news for fans of those 1980s, as we see a return to more hard-hitting songs and with even more trashy tempo. The bad news for metalheads is that although there is some notable tracks, such as If Darkness Had a Sun and Shadows Fall, is that at 77 minutes, the album is far, far too long. And there's such a lot of stuff that just sounds the same. You start skipping through tracks to hit the good stuff.
Ooh. So, kind of a welcome return maybe for Paul, but not such a welcome return. Dom, let's go to you next then, my friend. Metallica, is this a band that you've got into? By the sound of it, you corrected me with the name pronunciation, so I'm going to assume you might know a thing or two about them.
Yes, is mother frickin' Metallica, mate. This is like this is the gods. I really like the album. I thought it was great. 72 seasons. It relates to 18 years. And they have said that it is, so there's a bit of the album which is about looking back, apparently, because Metallica sometimes kind of try and get a little bit deep. And so apparently they're trying to channel this idea of what happens to you in the beginning of life as you're growing up and becoming an adult, and all those influences on you and stuff like that, how it makes you the person you are. And they're far from 18 years old now, Metallica, but so they're definitely looking far back into the past. But I thought it was pretty awesome. I mean, it's pretty unrelentingly bleak. If you listen to the lyrics and take the lyrics on, it's pretty dark stuff. And there is nothing more truly thrash than that, if you ask me. This is my style. You know that I'm, often a little bit left field with my heavy music that I like. This is great. No big melodies throughout. I think, that's perhaps where that sameness comes from. There's no ballads. Thank God for that. No ballads. That's just incredible. I love it. Lars Ulrich, the drummer, he's just incredible. And the production quality in the album is amazing. Shadows Fall, it could be on the Black Album. It could be there alongside Enter Sandman at their height. It's a very reminiscent of that kind of original sound. And the thing that I really love about this type of music, the kind of thrash music style, is it's that kind of grind. It's the kind of grind that goes with it. So for me, it's more about Kirk Hammett's guitar than James Hetfield. And my only criticism is for a thrash metal album, it's like it's about twice as long as it should be. That's about all. But I loved it. Thought it was great.
Right, well, Trish, bit of thrash metal, bit of Metallica. Did it float your boat?
Okay, so this album has thrash and speed to it in true Metallica style, which when I was younger and starting to get into rock music, this kind of sound was too heavy for me. Having said that, the opener is very dramatic and keeps you in suspense to when they are going to start singing. This album has stadium-sized Enter Sandman-ish riffs. Enter Sandman is, however, a song that I do like of Metallica's, and the 1-2 fist pumping with the moody song Chasing the Light. I think I've matured to appreciate their music and don't find them as heavy as when I was younger. But at an hour and a quarter long, this album is crammed full, there is no doubting that. But towards the middle to the end for me, it sounded samey, so lost my attention. It was just background music whilst I was working. But I do respect Metallica. They've been together 32 years. The guys are over 60 and still churning out well-established music that they are passionate about.
Ooh. Well, I think if you ever go into slate an album in the nicest possible way, that was how to do it. Listen, I love you guys. I love you. I respect you. But it was only okay. Dave, I mean, you insisted that you wanted to be on the stage, on the show. So, the stage days have gone past us. On the show, you wanted Metallica. Were you disappointed? Did you love it, Dave? Because I feel that it might be more towards your spectrum of music.
It
It's solid. It definitely, it's a welcome addition to their sort of catalogue. But I mean, that's at best, that's all it is solid. I didn't think it was amazing, but at this point, I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be honest with you. I think the days when they were doing stuff that was groundbreaking is in the past. I mean, they know what they're good at. That's what they produce now. And this is very much along that. I would agree with Paul. At times, I found it really engaging. There was a lot of stuff on here that I really enjoyed, but there are other times when I just completely and utterly zoned out. I think, as you say, the length could do with being a bit shorter. But overall, I mean, it's solid. It's the one that I will definitely listen to again. But again, I mean, it's not going to be near the top of the best Metallica albums, but it ain't going to be near the bottom either. I mean, that's St. Anger's down there. Never listen to that album. That doesn't exist.
Anger's got some good stuff on it. It's all right.
There's a bit that where it ends. That's quite good.
Not their finest moment. You're right.
So, who wants to do a bit of role play here with me? Who wants to be James? I'm going to be Lars. Who wants to be James? Dom, you're the biggest fan. You be James, right? Okay, we're gonna pretend we're having a cigarette because I'm a rockers, So we're going to do a bit of role play here in terms of my thoughts on this album, right? Okay, so James,
yes, mate.
This Strangest Things lark. Strangest Things lark, with Eddie on the caravan playing Master of Puppets. That's kind of iconic, man, isn't it? I mean, it's really iconic. I mean, our popularity, mate, it's just like, it's gone through the roof, hasn't it?
Exactly. And our days are numbered. Let's get everything out. All the material we can produce.
So what do you reckon, mate?
Get it out there.
Let's do a fucking album, right? That sounds as if Eddie is on that caravan in that underworld doing like a whole concert, right? A whole concert to all the denizens of this underworld, following on from a bit of Master of Puppets and giving them something that they all want and love. It's a good idea, isn't it, mate?
Exactly. Who can do with an extra $10 million?
I know, right? I mean, voila. Voila. I mean, let's be honest about it. I'm a Stranger Things fan. I'm a rock fan. For me, Master of Puppets on that caravan in what can only be described as hell. All right, if you've not seen it, watch it because it is one of the most iconic things you've ever seen as a rock musician. If you want to picture anything, was utterly phenomenal. It's spine-chilling, brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, and without any shadow of a doubt, Metallica's popularity, shot through the roof. I mean, I was like Paul. I missed those days. Not maybe a cup of tea back then. But I went back and listened because of that moment. I went back and I listened to Master of the Puppets album, and I loved it. And I thought, wow, maybe I've missed Metallica for the rest of my life. And I think a lot of people felt the same. So they've just gone like, shit, probably got a lot of material. It sounds a bit like Master of Puppets, and like people obviously love it. Let's give the public what they want, and they went and wrote this album, produced this album, and gone, shut it, and obviously going, well, let's give them a little bit more, and they kept piling it on for 77 minutes, and they kept going on there, and and if you are in a Metallica mood, and you have to be in a Metallica mood, okay, you're going to love this album. You're going to absolutely love it, Now, when I listened to it, I happened to be in a Metallica mood. So I actually quite enjoyed the album. I did. I mean, Shadows and Fall was brilliant. Lars, I think the other kind of song that I wrote down was Lars something, Lux Eternal. I thought that was an absolute cracker as well. And it was really good. And I absolutely then agree with everybody else. It went on way too long and it became the same thing. By the end of it, if I was at that caravan, I'd go, mate, I need a piss now. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like getting on a bit. Let's just kind of end it now. And I do like a rock ballad, so I'm afraid that I would have preferred to. I love it when a band like Metallica hit a rock ballad and you demonstrate your skills. But without any shadow of a doubt, they've just gone. Yeah, and it's the same thing right the way through. But I think if you're in a Metallica mood, you're going to absolutely love it. And I could picture them on that caravan in the underworld, blasting this album out and having a great time. I thought it was absolutely majestic. Yeah, I think this was a solidly good album. But but it has its faults. It has its repetitiveness, and it went on a bit long. But if you like Metallica, you like that Master of Puppets types of sound, you like that sort of music, you will love this album because it is a very well produced, well made album. But yeah, it's whether it fits your thing or not. So, however, will they get the golden 20? Will it reach our Hall of Fame? Will it get into our shortlist for Album of the Year? Let's find out our rating for our listening pleasure then. Oh, I think it's going to be a little bit ups and downs here, maybe, but let's find out. Paul, what's...
Aren't we doing... don't we do that at the end after doing the
You're
verses?
absolutely right, Trish. I'm going to have to edit that bit out of the video because I'm a numpty, and you're absolutely right. We're forgetting about who they're up
Jump
against.
the gun.
I'm not going to edit it out because people see me warts and pimples and everything else as well. So we're not going to rate them yet. We're not going to rate them yet.
He got so excited about...
Because I'm getting all excited. That's right. And it's been a month since I've done this
We don't
show.
need to talk about this next album anyway. It's fine.
Well, do we or do we not? Let's find out. So the album's called Diamonds. The band is called Elegance. Now, interestingly, this is one of the first proper albums or bands that have returned after actually getting a proper rating and a proper review from us back in the day. And their album a couple of years ago almost reached our Hall of Fame. It got like a 3.9, mostly because of yours truly, because I give them a 5 and I really enjoyed the album. So how will they fare on their return? Dom, you weren't around at the time. You were just a twinkle in our eye at the time. So LA Guns, who are LA Guns? LA Guns are an American glam metal band from Los Angeles, which is why I put these two bands together. They're both from Los Angeles. There we go. That's the link.
Metallica from
San Francisco, actually. Metallica from.
No, the band was formed in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, hello. There's a finger coming up here. Look. Anyway,
you could be right. Actually, I think they moved to San Francisco.
They did. I said it in my introduction. I said it. All right.
Oh, we weren't listening. Sorry.
We're sorry.
But they then have been based in San Francisco, but they were formed in Los Angeles in '81, and 2 years later, glam metal band LA Guns were also formed in Los Angeles. The lineup currently consists of Tracy Guns, lead guitar, Phil Lewis, lead vocals, Ace Von Johnson, rhythm guitar, Johnny Martin, bass, Adam Hilton, studio drums, and Sean Duncan, live drums. Well, somebody doesn't like playing live. The first incarnation of the group was formed by Tracy Guns and Rob Gunn in '83, emerged with fellow Los Angeles group Hollywood Rose to form Guns N' Roses in March 1985. Wow, somebody pinched that name later on. And only for a brief tenure in the band, Guns formed LA Guns. A new lineup consisted of Paul Black, Mike Chris, Rob Stoddard, Nicky Alexander, and Black would be soon replaced by former girl singer Phil Lewis, while former Faster Pussycat bassist Kelly Nichols was added to later to the group. Later, Alexander would be replaced by former Wasp. I used to love Wasp back in the day. Drummer Steve Riley, with this being known as a classic lineup of LA Guns. They achieved moderate chart success in the late 1980s and 90s. However, the group went through numerous lineup changes, with Riley being the most consistent member and failed to regain mainstream attention. But they're doing all right at the minute, that's for sure. So, Diamonds, let's start with you then, Dom. Had you come across LA Guns before? Is this your first time?
Yeah, thankfully it's my first time. Really, this is this is like glam metal, right? That's kind of where we're at. So 80s glam metal, kind of brought into the 2020s is the feel that I got from it. And one of the things I'd say is because I did a little bit of research on them, found a connection with Guns N' Roses, whatever. But the constant lineup changes kind of says something. And then you said that phrase, they had moderate chart success in the 80s and 90s, and it's pretty much continued from then. For me, does it hit hard? Not really. Are they a knockoff Motley Crue? Yeah, probably, sort of, but not quite as good. There's the sleaze in there. I like that kind of sleazy sound. It's lots of fun, I would say. There's a lot of fun. There's power ballads, man. Just power ballads. after a power ballad, and another. Oh man, that's the worst. God help us. If you put LA Guns and Metallica in a room, fight it out. Who's going to win that fight? Metallica are going to paste LA Guns. I think I could take on LA Guns in a fight. They're just, yeah. It's kind
but I don't for the phrase. I think the clues in the band name. I think you're going to lose because they probably come in with like an Uzi and just fucking blow you away. But there we go. So yeah,
that's the only way they're going to win that fight. It was just kind of way too derivative, kind of dated, but not in a great way, and a bit meh. I'm just going to go meh. That's what I'd say.
Trish, how dare he slate 80s rock? I mean,
absolutely. But for me, Black Diamond, the opening track, You Betray, is the great opener for the album. And the rest of the album has electricity, menace, and energy, with a ballad thrown in with a killer of a chorus on Diamonds. This album is pure, heavy-blooded rock and roll that's well crafted, and they are on a roll. For me, it was a grow of an album and needs a couple of listens, but all in all, a good listen for rock lovers.
There we go, see? There we are. Rock lovers, Dom. Not like thrash metal lovers. Dave, you remember LA Guns? Did you originally review the album? I can't remember.
I did, yes, yeah.
Yes, I thought you thought it was all right from what I remember.
Yeah,
what do you think of Black Diamond?
It was all right. It was this album was nowhere near as good as the previous one. I really want to like this band, considering how much of a fan of Guns N' Roses I am, but I really, really don't. You can tell where all the talent ended up when that merger happened, and it wasn't this band, that's for fair. This album's just lifeless and boring. There are a few redeeming qualities, but they're far outweighed by the negatives. It just didn't get me interested at all. To be honest with you, I listened to it once. That was enough. The previous album, I would go back and listen to that. But this one, no, they completely missed the mark with this one.
Why? Kind of similar sound. What? In your opinion, what was the difference?
It's just, as I say, there's nothing to it. It's just generic. It's lifeless. It's boring. There's nothing there to perk your interest at all. It's bland. Paint by numbers. There's nothing special about it. It wouldn't stand out amongst anything at all. It would, you could hear this sort of quality of rock down your local pub on a Saturday night, to be
fair. That's harsh, brutal. Paul, redeem us. Redeem LA Guns and Black Diamond.
Well, I think David's being kind. First of all, I want to explain this mashup. Is as if Metallica have been armed with massive Super Soaker Nerf guns, right, in a water fight, and LA Guns have been given little pistols that you get in a Christmas cracker that are leaking, and just about squirts about half inch. This album is pretty dire. I mean, yes, you're right. We reviewed LA Guns' last album, Check It Past, about 2 years ago. It was a tidy album, pitched firmly at the 1980s rock fandom. Listening to this album, I swear I was listening to another band. The first two songs, the production is terrible. I thought I was listening to a bootleg edition. The ballad Diamonds is where the production increases 100-fold before Babylon and Shame goes into a bootleg punk mode. And the next ballad, Gonna Lose Again, sees a spike in production levels. And the rest of the album, it keeps up to a steady level after that in production. But really, it's just not good enough, especially after the number of albums these guys have put out. And it's not good at all. I guess the ballads have received that extra production level as they're aimed at the rock radio scene. But I would really be pissed if I paid money on this effort.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was all right. it was solid. I don't think it was as good as Checkered Past, but I totally disagree with the production level. I thought the production level was perfectly fine right through the album. I mean, yeah, it wasn't the right mashup. I admit that it was difficult to mash up this month, but it was different actually. In fact, I really probably should have put a band called Overkill up against Metallica. They're coming on a later show, but anyway, I mean, you just don't know. But it was okay. It wasn't. I enjoyed the album. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I enjoyed the album. I do like Diamonds. I thought that was a cracking song, and I do like. Unlike other people here, I do like a rock ballad. In fact, I have to say, I fucking love a rock ballad. I mean, some of the great icons of song. It was okay. I don't think it was any good as Checkered Past. You're absolutely right. But I thought it was a solidly fun album. It was all right. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, when I try to do mashups, I categorise people into what I call generic rock, and there are a lot of generic rock albums out there, and there's a lot of generic rock bands out there, and this certainly fell into this category. And believe me, having listened to quite a few generic rock albums, they're still cut above on what other stuff that's out there, that's for sure. And I utterly disagree with the fact that they're like a local band down the pub. Oh, right, mate, honestly, if they were if they were in a local pub every night, it would be packed. It would be absolutely packed, and I'd be down there front and centre, that's for sure. But I thought it was all right.
Now accounting for taste.
Well, what is taste? Who knows? Who knows? I'm just going to edit you out anyway, Dave. But there we go. Right, let's. Right. Funny enough, deja vu. This is what happens next. We rate the albums out of 5, and we find out which album, as a group, we would buy, and then we rate them out of 5, and we will then, will they get 20 plus, get into a Hall of Fame? Where will they end up? You will be able to see in later shows. We won't be able to see in this one, but later shows you'll be able to see where they end up in our overall ratings, especially for the year. Will they get into our shortlist for Album of the Year? That's going to be a tough ask right now because there's a lot of good stuff out there. Let's find out then, shall we? Let's start with Metallica. Paul.
3.
3. Dom.
An average Metallica album is still a good album. 4.
4 for Dom. Trish.
3.
3. Oh, that's quite. I was expecting. That's quite good for you, considering like respect. Was it? Did they get extra respect marks then? Dave.
3.5.
3.5. Okay. Well, they got a 4 from me. I mean, they got 4 from me. I was expecting higher from Dom the way he was talking, but there we go.
It's a solid album.
So 7.5, 10.5, 14.5, 18.5. They don't make that Hall of Fame, but they're certainly going to be quite high rated for the album of the for 2023. But they're not going to get into our shortlist. But solid, good score for Metallica. And let's be honest about it. When it gets to big bands, that's pretty good for us because they're often quite disappointing. So, Elegans, Dom.
1.
That's sacrilege. Trish.
3.5.
3.5. Dave.
1, but I'm not exactly sure what that's for, to be honest.
No, me neither, actually. I'm
Probably for the pint of lager you bought down the pub. So.
Yeah.
Paul.
1.5.
Oh,
And that's because the power ballads are not too bad.
That's shocking. Well, I equally enjoyed this album. But I also give it a 4. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Look, music is personal preference.
I loved it. I enjoyed the album. I enjoyed the band. I like them. I like the style. I like the
Nige,
music.
I've got you.
Thank you.
I've got you.
There we
Yeah,
go.
Nige, don't go buying me any albums for Christmas.
Well, I'm not going to. You're off my Christmas list, all of you. Apart from Trish. Trish is on my Christmas list. So there we go.
Yeah, thank goodness for that.
So they got 7.5, 8.5, 9, 10, 11. Below average. Wow, truth doesn't lie. I mean, they got 19 in our last one, so there must be truth by that. I give that previous Checkered Past a 5, so they've definitely come down in my estimation as well. So I think it goes it goes along. But anyway, and I was actually looking forward to hearing them again, bizarrely, but there we are. Anyway, we kind of move on. So we're looking at, I've tied, but I would buy the Metallica album. So for sure. So Metallica in this matchup, apart from Trish, who would buy the LA Guns album, by the sound of it, it's Metallica all the way. Yeah. So 8.5 versus 11. Metallica are winner of our mashup. Congratulations to them. Well done to what we I think is a solid, good album. And then if you're a Metallica fan, I think you'll love it. So if you're into that sort of grinding, repetitive, caravan on top music, you'll love it. So anyway, thank you very much for joining us today. Keep on rocking out there. Please like and subscribe. We love you all. Our listening numbers are increasing, and we think that's fantastic, and we'll keep on reviewing. And thanks to my crew for joining me today. Thanks to Dom, thanks to Paul, thanks to Dave, thanks to Trish.
Bye.